We now head to the great state of Texas for the story of an unexplained phenomenon which occurred in, of all places, a suburban kitchen. March 2017. Erica Garner is home alone in her house just outside Houston. Her husband has left for a business trip.
I was outside, I was playing with my 2 dogs, and I noticed something very strange on my rooftop. There was black birds going in a circle. I had never seen that before.
This feels like some sort of omen as Erica goes back inside. She's giving water to her dogs when suddenly...
Oh! What was that?
Let's freeze on that, because if you blink, you'll miss it. A strange blue light streaking through the room, leaving Erica stunned and momentarily at a loss for words.
That was weird.
It was almost like plasma. Everything in the room turned completely white, almost like an explosion, and my eyes started burning.
Okay, it's really weird.
Even stranger, the flash only lasts a second, though Erica says it felt much longer.
What was that?
It traveled almost like it was a train coming across the room, slowly coming in for a stop. And this happened for all about 7 seconds.
And that night, things get downright funky.
I had trouble sleeping, I was having some strange dreams, and it definitely impacted me.
Erica's dreams of pink and purple galaxies make her feel like she's been transported through time. And she wonders if the blue flash could have been an extraterrestrial force.
Into my research, trying to figure out what possibly a blue beam of light could come from, people have said they've experienced alien abductions and they might see a blue beam of light.
One similar case happened in 1975. An Arizona logger named Travis Walton disappeared after walking toward an unidentified beam of light in the forest. He recalled being transported to a strange place surrounded by alien beings. And when he made it home, he was shocked to learn he'd been gone for 5 days.
There are definitely things in this world that we do not understand.
So what is Erica's blue flash? Well, we know it's not her security camera malfunctioning because we can hear her reacting in real time.
Oh, what was that?
So the first thing we did was a proper analysis of the footage. Photography expert Andrew McCarthy starts by examining the footage frame by frame.
So right after this, the camera lost several frames. You see a distinct jump. Her hair moves, the dogs move. It's just a significant jump. She said it was 7 seconds. I'm not sure if it was 7 seconds, but it was a long time, long enough that they significantly shifted positions.
But McCarthy says there's something else that's even stranger.
What didn't make sense to me is nothing here is casting a shadow. It seems like the light source would be coming behind the camera to cause this, but you would see some kind of shadow cast on the legs of these chairs, you know, on the dogs. But you don't see any of that. It's just bright, and it's uniformly bright.
Forensic investigator Chase Klotsky is curious if the flash could be something as simple as a burnt-out light bulb. So she asks the Garners to run a test.
Erica and her husband put this light bulb in, and they tapped it. And if you tap it long enough, it burned out. Once you compare when the light bulb blows out and that reaction, and you put it next to the blue flash, they're not even close.
Okay, so if it wasn't a blown bulb, was it possibly a strike of lightning from outside? Atmospheric scientist Deanna Hentz reviews the local weather radar from that day.
What you're seeing is that a round of fairly intense thunderstorms went through the Houston area, but it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, whereas this video was taken at 11:30 in the morning. That really leads me to think that lightning is not responsible for that flash.
Some experts believe wormholes in the universe create paths to move backwards in time and through parallel universes. Perhaps the blue flash was one such path.
I stand more on the side of this being a time glitch. It's an error in our time-space fabric.
What was that?
So what is it? The strange jump in the footage does point to some kind of time glitch, but whether it's caused by an alien force, a wormhole, or something else is unclear. So for now, I'm prepared to call this a genuine unexplained phenomenon. It's a beautiful, clear day in Camden, South Carolina in October of 2016. Welder Corey Heron is leaving his wife's office when he spots something overhead so stunning,
He starts live streaming it to Facebook.
Nobody will believe me if I didn't do this live, but I want you to look at this cloud in the sky. Check that out.
Hovering just above a nearby building is a cloud that looks unmistakably familiar.
Is that not an angel or what? Look, I mean, you can almost like see a face.
It also appears to have large, perfectly symmetrical wings. As Corey marvels at this cloud figure, it doesn't seem to move from this spot, and there's barely another cloud around.
I don't know that I've ever seen with my own two eyes this type of cloud. This is my angel.
With normal clouds, you would expect to see dissipation, but this image was persistent. What's interesting is this gentleman apparently had a tough time with an incident that had happened and was perhaps looking for a sign or needing some support.
This sighting wasn't just transformative for Corey at a vulnerable time in his life. It was spiritually inspiring to many of the over 9 million people who watched his video.
All right. Hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I did.
The same year as Corey's sighting, a Gallup poll found that 72% of Americans believe angels exist. So is the video proof that they are indeed watching over us? Let's have our analysts test their faith in this idea.
First, we determined if the cloud formation is particularly unusual.
The thin, wispy characteristics of this particular cloud indicates that it's likely made of ice crystals. The light that's reflecting from it and passing through it isn't being reflected as effectively as if this was a cloud made of water. This is actually a process known as sublimation, where the ice crystals are turning back into water vapor and thus becoming invisible. So that kind of differential around the cloud can lead to pieces of it going away and forming interesting shapes.
And as to how this cloud was able to stay still and maintain its angelic shape,
there would need to be a few different things happening. For one, that the winds at that altitude are relatively calm, and so that the cloud is not being moved away quickly.
I don't even think it's moved.
Another factor would be that there is enough moisture in that layer of the atmosphere so that the different cloud particles don't disappear back into water vapor very quickly.
Professor Hintz checks the weather conditions on that day to see if they are consistent with what we see in the video.
There's actually a pretty broad high-pressure region over the eastern United States. The winds within a high-pressure region are often very calm, so that would actually set up the conditions to being calm enough that the cloud is able to hang around for a long period of time.
Our verdict? This sighting was a naturally forming cloud. But it is not our place to say whether it was caused by divine intervention. Those who believe in angels still see sightings like these as a sign. And we could all use a little help from above.
It's January 17th, 2020 in Fargo, North Dakota. Winter has really set in with packed snow and ice on the ground and temperatures dipping to 1 degree overnight. After looking at an office space to rent, accountant and mother of 6, Nicole Hebner, returns to her car and records something very strange.
It was very icy, and it was so windy that I could hardly even walk on the sidewalk because it was almost blowing my feet out from underneath of me. And I noticed that there was a light pole in the parking lot that was just wiggling, and it was rattling really loudly. Everyone thought it was really unique and crazy and special. It just made you think that we can all feel the cold. It affects things that even aren't alive, like our cars and the buildings.
And here's what makes this a mystery. We can see that the wind was blowing. Look at that bush. But strangely, there's an identical pole in the background that doesn't seem to move at all.
Animism is a religious belief that objects and plants have souls. And while there is no way to test whether that's true or not, we can try to see if there's a scientific explanation for what we're seeing here, no matter how uncanny it may be. So let's have our experts weigh in.
Could the cold have caused this? Atmospheric scientist Dr. Deanna Hintz has pulled up the weather data from that day when temperatures were well below the freezing mark.
Typically speaking, these kind of poles easily withstand cold temperatures. We see these kind of light poles all over the country, and they're built to withstand a wide range of conditions.
That takes us to the wind. Could it be to blame?
Given that hint that the wind was affecting the bush within the video screen, I just wanted to check and see the wind speeds. It turns out that they were going at a pretty healthy clip, anywhere from roughly about 30 to closer to 40 miles per hour.
In fact, Hen says a blizzard was blowing through the region that weekend, at times causing whiteout conditions. But physicist Dr. Hakeem Olushehi says it's not only the speed of the wind that matters, but its direction and frequency.
Any gust of wind is not going to cause a light pole to shake in this way. What we're looking at potentially is resonant phenomena, and so what matters is the frequency of the wind.
Everything solid has a natural frequency of vibration. Well, you don't have to hit an object with a hammer, you can hit it with the wind. The wind makes vibrations in this lamppost, and these vibrations are magnified if they resonate with the length of the lamppost.
So when the vibration of the wind hitting the light post has the same frequency as the natural frequency of the post, it amplifies the vibration, causing this resonance effect. Physicist Dr. Michio Kaku says if the resonance were to get strong enough, the light pole might actually collapse.
That's what happened in 1940 in Washington. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge collapsed as a consequence of wind passing over the bridge, causing the entire bridge to oscillate like a snake.
This is a phenomenon known as aeroelastic flutter, which occurs when the energy from the wind is rapidly absorbed by the structure and converted into mechanical vibrations.
So, our verdict. It was certainly cold enough in North Dakota to make people shiver, but the light post is vibrating so violently because the wind gusts are causing resonance.
And the adjacent light post isn't moving because the wind is hitting it at a different frequency. Perhaps because the vibrating post is in a tight wind tunnel. On a sweltering July day in 2020, UK residents Meg Oxtby and Jeff Parlett are on a hike with their trio of Hungarian Vizslas, unaware of what they're about to witness.
We were walking along, just having a chat like we normally do, and then we noticed that the dogs were not moving.
At first, this looks like a photograph, but keep watching. The camera starts moving, and yet the dogs all appear to be frozen in their tracks.
We couldn't believe it. You could see the leaves moving and all the bushes, but the dogs were completely still.
I'm telling you, we are not freezing or slowing down this video. You can tell by the shrubbery right here that it's moving in the wind. Now check out how this dog has his leg raised and tail curled. And this other dog is frozen in mid-step. Look, it seems impossible to maintain balance like that.
The three Vizslas stay in that position for 4 whole minutes before resuming their normal dog activity.
We were completely gobsmacked.
Ancient cultures from the Greeks to the Romans to Koreans all have myths about dogs having supernatural ability. The Mayans believed that dogs, known for being great swimmers, swam the souls of the dead across a shadowy lake to the afterlife. Forensic investigator Chase Klotsky wonders if something like that is at work here.
Are there like forces somehow making them stop like that? It seems like a theory is that dogs have a spiritual side almost. They sense things like earthquakes, illness, even death sometimes.
Recent studies have explored whether dogs have some sort of sixth sense to communicate telepathically. Meg and Jeff concur. Their dogs seem to have some kind of canine ESP.
They knew what they were all doing, and they knew how long to stay still for. So it's just amazing how they can communicate without actually speaking. So that side of it is kind of magical, really.
Ugh, that was me trying to freeze for just 5 seconds. It's impossible, I'm too twitchy. So forget about 4 whole minutes. It's clear these dogs can do some amazing things, right? But can they really freeze themselves in mid-step? Let's take the video to our experts.
Zoologist Roxy Furman considers whether a supernatural force may have terrified the dogs into a form of paralysis.
Dogs definitely do freeze when they're afraid, so there could be something that's made them scared, but there's nothing else in their body language that indicates fear. Their ears are up, their tail's up. Vizslas are hunting dogs, but I don't think that they can be that still for the entire duration of a 4-minute video without kind of any movement. It looks like it's been edited in some way to me.
Compare this other video of hunting Vizslas with Meg and Jeff's. You can see these other dogs don't maintain their posture as well or as long. So maybe Roxy's right. Meg and Jeff's dog video can't be real.
So there are apps that can be downloaded on these mobile devices that can animate certain areas of a picture while preserving other areas frozen in time. Although these apps can deceive a viewer, we found no evidence to support that this file was manipulated or slowed down or frozen in any way.
So this is, in fact, real. Still, biology professor Floyd Hayes believes this is just the product of centuries of breeding.
This is a behavior that is selectively bred for in several breeds of dogs, although it is reinforced in dogs by training. In fact, they actually can be trained to lift a paw above the ground when they are pointing.
Hayes may be onto something here. At the end of the video, we do see the dogs unfreeze as soon as a bird flies away. But here's the catch. Meg and Jeff say they have never trained their dogs to behave like this.
We teach them, sit and stay, but this was something on a completely different scale and something that I can't see being taught to them whatsoever.
Our verdict? This is still an animal anomaly. These 3 Vizslas really did freeze in place for 4 minutes. And if Meg and Jeff truly didn't train them to do this, how they stopped time is still a doggone mystery.